a prison guard security tower, and I want you to keep this image in mind as I tell you this incident. Several years ago, there was a young female officer working inside the guard tower. It was dark outside, cold inside, and all she had with her was a radio and a loaded AR-15. Her shift was over, and she was waiting to be relieved so she could go home. Up through the trap door in the floor comes the male officer that had been cyberstalking the young woman for weeks. She had told this man that she was married and completely uninterested in anything he had to say, and yet he continued to bother her and talked about how they would be great together and would just not leave her alone. And she was a little bit worried about making any waves at work, so she didn't report it to any of her supervisors. She was keeping things professional as she was showing him the logbook and making sure the weapon had all the rounds that it was supposed to have and just verifying the general information. And as she was trying to leave, he asked her for a hug. She said she didn't want to hug him. She wanted to just go home. He wasn't taking that for an answer. He violently shoved her against the glass and pressed his body against hers. And as she cried, he shoved his hands down her pants. She was able to fight him off and get to the ladder of the guard tower. And after she got to that first rung, he grabbed the back of her jacket so hard that it shook her and she lost grip of the bars. But she's a fighter, so she was able to get her grip back and make it down that ladder. She made it inside the prison to clock out, but her lieutenant saw that she was visibly shaken, so he took her to his office to find out what was wrong with her. She told him everything on the spot. She told him what happened in that guard tower, how she had to fight him off, how she nearly fell down that long ladder and could have been hurt badly or worse. And they let her go home. Now, the policy states that anytime a crime like that happens, you're supposed to call state police. So instead of calling state police like they were supposed to, they took a witness statement from the officer who had been assaulted. They took a witness statement from that male officer who victimized her, and they sent the whole thing to Internal Affairs. I was assigned the case, and we went over the incident and over the text messages that he had been sending her over the previous weeks. And then I gave her a lie detector test, and she passed. I then called in for the male officer that assaulted her, and he lied immediately. He said he hadn't done any of the things he was accused of. She had wanted him to hug her. That's all that happened. And after about 2 hours in my office, because I don't want to get too much into talking about this guy, but after failing a couple lie detector tests, I was able to get him to confess to what he had done. The thing that got me the most about this case is that I had talked to my supervisor. I had talked to my next supervisor in line, which was the director of the entire department, and also the legal team. They all showed up at my office asking me about this case because they were like, well, who's responsible for calling the police? I was like, the unit is responsible for calling state police. And since they haven't called state police, we need to call state police. They didn't want to call state police. They wanted to sweep this case under the rug because they were embarrassed that they didn't handle it properly in the first place. And they didn't want state police meddling in their affairs. This actually happened quite a lot. And I think what ended up happening later is that female officer quit. They did fire the male officer. I don't think he ever went to jail or anything. Ladies, this isn't just about women working in correctional facilities or women on the street. This is about anybody working in a workplace where something bad happens to you. Know your policies, because if it's your company's policy to call the police and they don't, you need to call the police, okay? The company is going to do whatever they can to protect itself. They are not there to protect you, unfortunately. So the more you know, the better you are to prepare and take care of yourself.